Hi, I'm Daniel with Mobile Geeks, and this is our in-depth review of the brand new Samsung Galaxy S8 and the Galaxy S8 Plus. In this video, we will show you the strengths and the weaknesses of the brand new smartphones from Samsung, and of course, we will tell you if it's worth a buy. Before we dive into this review, I would like to say that we will focus on the Galaxy S8 since both of them are so similar, and I will take the Galaxy S8 Plus as a comparison device whenever there is some kind of difference, for example in the display or in the battery life department. And before we dive into this full review, I would like to say, let's have a quick look inside the box, what you're actually getting for your money, because there are some very interesting things going on inside this retail box inside here. Just a very quick unboxing to show you the most important stuff. As you can see here, I know that most of you want to know what the quick charging standard usually is. This is Samsung's adaptive fast charging technology, but it also works with USB-C power delivery and also quick charge 3.0 standard. The main technical specification here, it's charging with 9 volts with up to 1.67 amps, so that's also good to know, and it will charge your Samsung Galaxy S8 in just under 100 minutes. This is an adapter you will also getting from USB Type-C to basically USB Type-A, for example, to move your data from an iPhone, so you can actually connect a lightning cable to the Galaxy S8. There's also another adapter from USB Type-C to your regular USB, micro USB over here, so you can use your cables which you have already bought and docking station and so on even further. Then there's also a USB Type-C cable inside here, and this is the stuff. That's the very interesting part. This is a Samsung tuned by AKG headset, and I have already tried it out, and I must say it's really good. Let's have a look over here. So this is how it looks like. As you can see here, really good build quality, and it actually sounds very good as well. It has some very nice fine tuning, and actually I would pay probably $80 to $100 to get this kind of sound, and it's nice that Samsung packs them in more or less for free, so it's definitely one of the better headsets out there. But now let's have a look at the phones. As you can see here, there's quite a size difference between these two. So the Galaxy S8 features a 5.8-inch screen, the Galaxy S8 Plus and 6.2-inch display, and as you can see here, it definitely reflects in the size. The Galaxy S8 is a lot narrower, and it's also, well, not as tall as the Galaxy S8 Plus, as you can see here. And you can definitely feel this difference in your hand. The Galaxy S8 feels very, handy, I would say. It feels like one of those smaller phones. Galaxy S7 users will actually quite love it since it's a bit narrower, even compared to the Galaxy S7. And of course, quite a lot narrower compared to the Galaxy S7 Edge. So it's definitely one of those phones you will actually love to hold in your hand. Whereas the Galaxy S8 Plus, it's definitely one of those bigger phones. So compared to the Huawei Mate 9, for example, with its 5.9-inch display, this is basically what you're getting, just not as wide, which is great for your feeling in the hand, but more or less the same size you'll be getting with the Galaxy S8 Plus. So that's what you should know. It's definitely not one of those phones which you can get around just with your thumb. You definitely need a second hand. And compared to the LG G6, which I've got over here, this phone compares really well to the Galaxy S8. As you can see here, sizes are very similar. The LG G6 has this 5.7-inch display, very similar in sizing. However, as you can see in design, the LG G6 feels a bit more edgier due to its metal frames here, thick metal frames, but it also feels a bit sturdier, I must say. So having a further look at the design, you can see that this is built in a sandwich kind of way. You get a glass panel on the front, a glass panel on the back. And what's really nice is that this metal frame, which holds everything together in place, it is actually symmetrical as it was on the Samsung Galaxy Note 7 back half a year ago. So you don't really feel this frame. It basically blends in with the glass so well that it has this natural organic kind of feel. There are different colors. This is the orchid gray version. There is also this black version, and as you can see here, the black one attracts fingerprints far more than the orchid gray version or as the silver version. So you should definitely look out for probably one of the silver or gray ones if you don't like fingerprints on your backside. Regarding the ports, as you can see here on the bottom, the port situation is the same. 3.5mm headphone jack, USB Type-C port with USB 3.1, which is super high speed, microphone, and of course your speaker, which is kind of disappointing, and we will have a quick shot on the speaker in just a second. On the right side, this is your on and off switch. On the top, this is where your SIM card and nano SIM will go inside, and of course a second microphone for noise reduction. And on the left side, you will find a volume rocker, and of course the Bixby button, which we will talk about also in a second. Yeah, Bixby is just a topic we will definitely discuss in this review. Well, and on the back you will find your 12 megapixel camera, which we will also talk to in about a second. And this is pretty new. This is the brand new fingerprint reader, which has moved from the front to the back, just right next to the camera. So what's my final opinion on the brand new fingerprint reader, which is now on the back here right beside the camera? Actually, I think the placing is not that big of a problem, since you just slide your finger from the edge of the phone right into the direction of the camera. You don't actually touch the camera that often. That's not that big of a deal. However, what really annoys me is that it is not that reliable, meaning that you will have to put your index finger several times before it will actually react and unlock the phone. I guess in 30 to 40% of the cases, I had to put my finger twice on the sensor so that the Galaxy S8 finally unlocks the phone. And this is something that you don't see on other smartphones like the LG G6 or as the Huawei P10. And also I would like to show you the speed of the sensor. So I turn the display off, I put my finger on, and now it's on. It just takes quite a while to actually unlock the phone. If you have a look at the Huawei P10, this is just blazing fast. I just put my finger on here and boom, it's unlocked. This is how it should work. Samsung definitely has to push a software update to make it a bit more reliable and of course a bit more speedy as well. Well, and what's also new is this home button area over here. So Samsung used to have these hardware home buttons and soft keys for Android navigation. Now they've moved to a different direction. They actually use soft keys, which you just touch on the bottom of the display. However, there's some kind of force touch action going on right in this lower third, I would say, where you can actually deep press this home button and you actually feel a nice kind of click. And you can also choose a different kind of sensitivity to actually really press down or just press down slightly. So this is something that Samsung definitely made quite well. And what's interesting is you can always touch this area down here. Even if the home button is not displayed, it will actually work as a home button. So that's definitely a nice feature. A new addition to the Galaxy S series is this iris scanner, which is located right inside here with a red LED and of course the sensor to actually track or recognize your iris. So what you do is you swipe to the right, and what the sensor will try to do is recognize your iris and then unlock the phone. As you have seen, this sometimes works quite well. now, for example, but you definitely have to get that location right. Then it's really fast. However, I found out that, as you have seen, I do wear glasses, especially when it's dark outside. This red LED will actually reflect on your glasses, and that's why the sensor won't work when it's really dim outside, I would say. For people not wearing glasses, this is definitely an option, and it's also a safer way, at least that's what Samsung says, compared to the fingerprint reader on the back. Now I would like to draw your attention to this beautiful display. The Galaxy S8 sports a 5.8-inch panel, the Galaxy S8 Plus a 6.2-inch panel, and as you can see here, the size is definitely quite noticeable. What's really nice is that this display actually curves to the sides. As you can see here, the curve is not as large as on the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge, I would say. It's more of a Note 7 kind of curved, but it is nice, and the reflections are not that high as compared to the Galaxy S7 Edge. Also, what you can see is that the edges of the display are actually rounded, and what's nice is that Samsung managed to get the same radius on the display curve as it is on the actual body curve. Compared to the LG G6, as you can see here, LG didn't manage to do that, and actually the display curve is a bit different compared to the actual body of the LG G6, but definitely doesn't look that nice as the Samsung does. In terms of resolution, you are dealing with 2960 by 1440, which is an 18.5 to 9 aspect ratio, which means that videos will definitely look a bit odd with these black bars. So let's see, let's take this video as an example, and if we will skip the ad, you will see that this actually has some black bars left and right, due to this 16:9 aspect ratio, which most YouTube videos, or actually basically all videos, have. And what you can do is you can zoom in, and it actually crops it crops in, meaning that if you have subtitles, these will be a bit cut off inside here. So it's definitely a trade-off you will have to think about while using this for videos. But overall, the display is really nice. It's one of the brightest displays out there. As DisplayMate found out, this can go up all the way up to 1020 nits, which is extremely bright. It's the brightest display in a smartphone out there. Viewing angles are quite good. However, especially when you have a white background, you will see that this tends to get a slightly greenish tint when you turn it right and left. However, it's not that big of a deal, and you can actually only see it when you have a white background. With other colors, it's actually not that noticeable at all. And of course, the black levels are the best since it's an AMOLED panel. Regarding performance, the European version, which we have reviewed, has the Samsung Exynos 8895 SoC, not the Qualcomm Snapdragon 835, which you will get in the United States, for example. And of course, we have run through some benchmarks. So in the Antutu, it will get scores of an average of above 170,000, as you can see here. Even after several runs, it actually doesn't get that hot, so it doesn't need to throttle the CPU or GPU, which is kind of nice. So you get a very consistent performance inside here. So definitely one of the fastest phones with about 170 or 175,000 on Antutu. Geekbench 4 is definitely good as well. As you can see here, single core scores of about 2,000, multi-core scores of about 6,600. Compared to the G6, this definitely kills it. The G6 has about a score of 4,200, and this is what it gets in Antutu. So you definitely see the new SoCs, the 8895 from Samsung is quite a lot faster compared to the last year's Qualcomm Snapdragon 821. And also you get 4 gigabytes of RAM, which is quite nice. However, I have seen when you actually look inside this device manager, device maintenance option here, quite a lot of memory is actually used up and reserved for some kind of services. So as you can see here, you have 4 gigabytes of RAM, but the available space is actually just above 700 megabytes. So this is kind of strange, I would say. And even if we clean this up, the system uses up quite a lot of RAM. However, I must still say that the Galaxy S8 never feels actually slow. It's one of the fastest phones out there, very snappy. All the animations are extremely fluid, and I can't say that multitasking is not a breeze. It is. It's definitely one of the fastest phones out there. Also regarding this memory problem, I'm not sure if it's a problem at all, but yeah, this is what you should know. And of course, gaming is also really good. All the latest games run just really well on the Galaxy S8, including Asphalt Extreme. So now let's have a look at the camera of the Galaxy S8 and the S8 Plus. The configuration is quite similar to the Galaxy S7 from last year. You get a 12 megapixel sensor with an aperture of f1.7 with 1.4 micrometer huge pixels, dual pixel AF and also OIS built into the lens. On the front you get an 8 megapixel front camera with autofocus and a video resolution of up to 2560 by 1440, which is a bit more than the full HD you could get last year. So let's have a look at the software. As you can see, the autofocus is still the best one out there. It's super fast, but still very, very precise. As you can see here, my hand is in focus, boom, and this figure is in focus. Hand, boom, boom, boom. It is one of the fastest autofocus systems out there, not only for phones, but for mirrorless cameras as well, since Canon also uses it in the brand new Canon EOS M5 camera. So having a look at the features you get here, what's new is this shutter button, which you can also use to zoom in. If you swipe it up just a little bit, you can see that it zooms all right up to x8 zoom factor, which is quite nice. What's not that new is that you can switch to the Pro mode, which means that you can set ISO, shutter speed, color reproduction filter, autofocus and manual focus. You can also set your white balance and of course your metering for the autofocus as well as for your light metering over here. So this is definitely very convenient for the pros who shoot a lot of manual photos as well. You also get panorama, selective photos, focus, hyperlapse videos, food photography, and so on. Nothing too new on up there. What is interesting is the video that you can now shoot with up to UHD resolution, meaning 3840 by 2160. Well, it's not exactly new. The Galaxy S7 could do that as well, although you won't get HDR video effects and continuous autofocus on everything above full HD with 30 frames per second. Other than that, let's have a look at the front-facing camera. So we just double tap this button over here, the power button, and you can see that if I look into the camera, there are some filters applied. We'll have a look at that in a second. No, I don't want that. So the front-facing camera has a resolution of 8 megapixels and has an autofocus, so you can actually select the point which is in focus. Probably it is your face. It also has HDR and face tracking, as you can see here, face recognition. You can also use some modes, including group selfie, which is basically a wide angle selfie, and you just move the camera from left to right to have a nice pan of the scene so you can fit in more people inside there. And of course, what I wanted to show you is this. These are some new and fancy Snapchat-like faces filters. So if I open up my mouth, something will happen. Let's see. I'm eating this cupcake. That cupcake is so delicious. Then there's this bear, some glasses, you know, that Snapchat kind of stuff. Oh, nom 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 nom. So I guess some people will like it, some will probably detest it, but it's definitely there, and it's here to make your selfies look a bit more interesting. You also have a nice set of filters you can use over here, and even some more over here, and they're all happening live, which is quite nice. And it's definitely one of the better cameras out there, probably one of the best cameras even out there. So let's have a look at the image quality. Regarding image quality, the Galaxy S8 definitely nails it. I must say, in comparison to the Galaxy S7, the hardware hasn't changed so much. However, Samsung has improved the software and has fine-tuned its image processing, and you can definitely see some differences. Especially in HDR, you can see that the Galaxy S8 offers some bit more higher dynamic range, and it also has some more natural, but also a bit more saturated colors. In general, the Samsung Galaxy S8 can take some really beautiful pictures with some very nice deep colors and a good contrast ratio. Also, the Auto HDR mode is phenomenally good, and the images are not over sharpened as they are, for example, on the LG G6, which is definitely nice, and they just look natural. However, they still pop off the screen. It's definitely one of the best cameras out there. And also regarding low light performance, the Galaxy S8 definitely shines. It has some very good color reproduction even in low light, and the sharpness is still good. Noise is actually quite decent, so not too much noise on those low light shots you will be taking. Video quality is also really good with a maximum resolution of UHD, which means 3840 by 2160 pixels. However, everything above Full HD with 30 frames per second will not offer HDR video effects or tracking autofocus, so that's what you should consider. But definitely the autofocus is very nice, color reproduction and also detail are very natural, and what I liked is the video stabilization, which works very, very smooth. Now let's talk about software. The Galaxy S8 comes with Android 7.0 and the Samsung Experience version 8.1. And quite a lot of things have actually changed. As you can see, the button for the app drawer has disappeared. Instead, you just swipe up or swipe down to access all of your apps. However, you can still configure this button to be up in the dock or wherever you want it to be. Also, you can search the phone right here for your apps. However, you can also search it for files and so on, and of course your contacts, so that's quite convenient. And you can change the grid to even have more apps on this display inside here. And of course, the settings or the quick settings menus has changed quite a bit. This is where your notifications would go right below here, and you can actually have some quick toggles here, and of course you can also directly access the settings menu from this quick settings box as well. The Galaxy S8 offers quite a lot of settings, I must say, and you definitely have to click through the menus to get all the things right. For example, the display has some really amazing options menu right here. You can set auto brightness, use the blue light filter to actually reduce the strain on your eyes. There's a selection of different screen modes right here with AMOLED photos, cinema, adaptive display, which basically turns every screen into its best possible, well, look, I would say. And then there's this. This means that you can change the screen resolution. That's right, the Galaxy S8 actually ships with a full HD plus resolution. The display, the hardware can actually do WQHD plus with 2960 by 1440. However, Samsung says that full HD plus is more than enough in your regular day-to-day use to, well, basically save battery. And we will have a look at the battery life in a second, and it definitely makes quite a big difference. You can also set the screen zoom, as you can see here, for icons, but also for text. So definitely some options inside here. And of course, there are also advanced features for your game launcher for your quick launch of a camera, which is a double tap on the power button. You have some finger sensor gestures, meaning that you can swipe all the way down to get your notifications displayed right here. However, it's not completely reliable. Sometimes I just swipe up and down and nothing happens on the screen. So Samsung definitely has to improve the accuracy on this sensor on the back. And then there are also some more options right here for the lock screen and security, meaning that you can actually register your face and your iris for the iris scanner and so on. So Samsung offers some really amazing options to actually make this phone just feel right for you. And of course, there are also some personalization options here with wallpapers and themes, which you can download for free, or you can also pay for some of them. And it's a really nice selection. And for those of you who like this kind of stuff, the Galaxy S8 definitely offers some good options as well. And then there are also some more options and settings for the home screen grid, as I said, to fit even more icons on the display than what is basically, well, what usually Samsung thinks is the best for you. Well, and then there is Bixby. Bixby is Samsung's voice assistant, which is kind of a similar thing compared to Siri and Google Now or the Google Assistant. It even has his own button right here. What is a bit annoying is that Samsung has disabled the option to remap this button using some third-party apps. So that is kind of a bummer. But yeah. Let's have a look at Bixby. So Bixby is a voice assistant. However, Samsung couldn't actually finalize the voice assistant to make it to the launch of the S8. So basically you are stuck with this right now, which is basically a Google Now kind of screen with your weather, your news, your schedule, some gallery photos, Twitter hashtags of the moment, some suggested apps, your activity. You can actually monitor a few through Samsung Health, a Spotify widget, and so on. So basically nothing that is really new, I would say, nothing that Google Now does not offer you. So this is kind of a bummer. However, what Samsung and Bixby will actually do when it will actually come out to this phone is quite interesting. And I would recommend that you have a look in the video description below to have a look at the video demo of Bixby, which we have shot in London. But for now, having this button doing basically Google Now stuff and just showing me the screen, this is not very useful, Samsung. And I must say, why not give us, the users, an option to remap this button if we don't want to use it? Because actually you also have Google Assistant installed on this phone, so you don't really need another voice assistant which doesn't do anything different than Google Assistant. So yeah, Samsung, give us the option to remap this button to make it a camera button, for example, or do other stuff with it. I'm just a bit annoyed that Samsung has chosen this path instead of another one. Before we come to our verdict, I would say let's have a look at the battery life of the Galaxy S8. The S8 has a 3000 mAh battery, the S8 Plus has a 3500 mAh battery, and the S8 generally with full resolution turned on and with the always on display also on, barely makes it through a day. I get about 3.5 to maximum 4 hours of screen on time during my day. So this is 3.5 hours to 4 hours of actually active usage with the fullest resolution and the active on display. However, if you use the full HD plus resolution, which is pre-installed or preset on this phone, and turn the always on display off, you can actually get some, well, rather good battery life of 4.5 to about 5 hours of screen on time. So power users still won't be really happy with it, but it's definitely not too bad, I would say. The Galaxy S8 Plus has slightly better battery life, meaning that with Full HD Plus resolution and the always on display, you get about 5, maybe 5.5 hours of display on time. Definitely not as good as the Galaxy S7 Edge, which was quite a king regarding battery life, and definitely not as good as the Huawei Mate 9, which definitely nails it with 8, sometimes 9 hours of screen on time. But it is actually okay. I wouldn't say it's disappointing. However, if you actually want to use with full resolution and the always on display, battery life is, I would say, rather average. The Galaxy S8 Plus then only gets about 4.5 hours of display on time, and that's not really a lot. So for power users, I would say the S8 Plus is the better option to go, but it's still not that good, I would say. It's decent, but not great. So what's our final verdict on the Galaxy S8 and S8 Plus? I must say I'm 90% in love. Why only 90? Well, it has some reasons, but we'll start with the good stuff. The camera is phenomenal. It's one of the best cameras out there for photos, but also for videos. The display, it just melts with the design of the phone. It definitely feels very good in your hand, and it just looks really great with these very small bezels. It's one of the most beautiful phones out there, and the display is just the best out there as well. What I also like is the performance. It's one of the fastest phones out there, and it also has some nice connectivity options with USB 3.1, and it's actually waterproof as well, which is kind of a nice addition to the overall package. What I don't like is this fingerprint sensor. The placing is not that big of a problem for me. It's more that it's not that reliable. If I say in 30 to 40% of the cases I need to place my finger down a second time, well, then it's not really reliable, I would say, and I hope that Samsung fixes it with a software update. The iris scanner doesn't work for me that well, but this might be the reason, because I am wearing glasses all the time. So if you don't wear glasses, this might be an option for you. And what I also don't like is the speaker. This is definitely one of the worst speakers out there in a flagship model, I would say. This is a very average, tinny sounding speaker, which you would find in a $250 or $300 phone. Nothing you would expect in a flagship. This is definitely a thumbs down for me. And also the battery life. I would say that if you ship a phone with a WQHD resolution display, it should actually get through a day with this resolution, and you shouldn't be turning down the overall resolution. So I guess the battery life is kind of disappointing. However, Full HD Plus resolution is actually very much usable in daily life, and you don't see that much of a difference. So I guess it's kind of a tie, but still battery life could be better on both models. So this is why I'm 90% in love and not 100%. For people using the Galaxy S7 or the S7 Edge, I would say stick to that phone. Don't upgrade to the S8. It's not really worth it unless you want this stunning design and just another edge overall in camera performance. Everything else is basically not that much of a difference, and you'll probably get a software update to make it look quite the same on the Galaxy S7 as well. For everybody else using a Galaxy S6, S5 or other kind of phones or an iPhone, I think this is one of the best offers you can get there. Although it is kind of expensive, it costs 799 euros in Europe for the smaller one, 899 for the bigger one. It is one of the best phones out there right now, with the best camera, the best display, one of the most stunning designs, and basically it is kind of a well-rounded package. That's basically the verdict. I'm Daniel from Mobile Geeks. Thanks for watching.